1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the temperature of an average fire. 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit is what it took to take an old wooden building that housed Arthur Jackson's dreams, the place of his work for 10 years, and take that building and reduce it to ashes. After you hear from experts, after you hear from employees, and after you hear from the owner of Flinders Aluminum, you will realize in less than 15 minutes that this is not a story about arson, but instead about a fire that took an optimistic man's dreams and took them to ashes. Now, on November 16, 1997, the date of the fire, Arthur Jackson had many reasons to be optimistic. His administrative aide, Sonia Peterson, will tell you that he had come up with a new product line, and instead of having aluminum siding for houses, which was not doing very well in the current market, he was going to move into aluminum car parts that was doing well. Arthur Jackson is going to tell you to this end, he had come up with designs and he had hired a man who he considers a brilliant designer, George Avery, to come and work for him. He was on the move. Arthur Jackson is going to tell you how after this, he got in touch with the bank to find a way to fund this new idea. He was talking to General Motors to get this movement going. And then Sonia Peterson, his aide, is going to tell you that other car companies are doing this. Other companies are making money from this. It was a feasible idea. Now, against this backdrop of optimism, you have Nismo Insurance Company saying that this was not a fire, an accidental fire, but instead it was arson. This idea was based on 3 facts. The first fact you're going to hear from the fire investigational report is that there was hydrochloric acid in this fire. But Arthur Jackson is going to give testimony that in his field, aluminum fabrication, keeping high amounts of hydrochloric acid on a premise is the norm. He is going to tell you, yes, he had a lot of hydrochloric acid in one area in a storage room. Nismo Insurance Company then relies on a second fact, and that fact is when the fire happened, it spread quickly. In order to spread quickly, it needs ventilation. Well, an expert, an ex-deputy fire marshal, is going to tell you that this building, the way it was set up, it was an old building. It didn't have fire protection. It was ripe for air to spread through it and spread that fire. And the third fact that they're going to say supports a fire being an arson is that the employee, George Avery, who Arthur Jackson hired to take his company forward, is actually a suspicious character. You're going to hear from Arthur Jackson that he didn't know that his resume was wrong. He didn't know that George Avery had not attended Northwestern and Cornell. What he did know is that his administrative aide, his trusted aide, Sonia Peterson, had vouched for him. Then you're going to hear from Sonia Peterson that one of the fires that makes George Avery a suspicious character, she was present for also. She was there as an employee, and that's how she knew George Avery. She worked at the same company that also experienced a fire. She moved on, and she brought George later with her. Now, most of us, when we experience a tragedy, we find a way to move on. We pick up the pieces and move on. This is a case of Arthur Jackson trying to pick up those pieces and going to Nismo Insurance Company and explaining that this is not an arson and a fire. And it is for you to help him pick up those pieces and move on also.